stories about how they celebrate the Day of the Dead. So, the Day of the Dead is a holiday. It is from October 31st, which is the same day as Halloween, through November 2nd. They celebrate for 3 days and do different things each day. And it's a holiday when they remember friends and family members who have died. So they'll go and they'll think about their ancestors, people who have gone before, who have died, and they remember them and tell stories and show honor and respect to the dead. And typically on the Day of the Dead, you'll build an altar, which will look kind of like this here. And they have different things that they'll put on the altar, usually marigolds. You see a lot of these yellow flowers. They're all over for this celebration. And these sugar skulls, they decorate them and they'll put them on the altar. And then bread. This is called pan de los muertos, so the bread of the dead.
Muertos.
And they'll make it and they eat it and they put it on the altar, kind of to show respect, to give it to the family. So those are all different things that they do, but they'll also make their friends and family members' favorite food. So if they're celebrating their grandfather, then they'll make all of his favorite food and they take it and they set that on the altar. So the first story I want to tell you is a story from a student named Jesus. And Jesus grew up in Mexico, and he celebrated the Day of the Dead when he was 10 years old. He told me a story from when he was 10 years old. He said, I have 2 different celebrations of Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead. When I was 10 years old, I celebrated the Day of the Dead in the traditional way. 1 week before the celebration, we prepared an altar for my grandfather. It would have looked a little bit like this one. We put his photo on the top of the structure. Then we added some typical items for this celebration, such as bread, sugar skulls, candy, and candles. At the end, we put his favorite stuff on this sculpture. Things like these tops. They were toys, some of his favorite toys. And then they cooked their grandfather's favorite food, and they put that on the altar as well. He says, my favorite part of making the altar was making a path from the door to the altar with Mexican marigold flowers. So they would take these flowers, these are called marigolds. Have you guys seen the flowers?
Yeah.
They're kind of small and yellow, like this. And they'd take them and they'd pull all the petals off the flower, and then they'd make a trail. And they'd start at the door, and they'd make a trail of flower petals all the way to the altar. So Jesus told me that tradition says that at night, the spirit of their person who has died will come back to the house for 1 day.
So,
That's what they say. That's the tradition.
at night.
At night, yep.
I see.
So they say it will come and it will follow the flower petals. So it will go from the door to the altar. And then Jesus told me that they say that the spirit comes to the food and it takes the food. And they say that the food loses its flavor. It doesn't taste like anything.
The flower?
The
The
food that
oh,
they
the
put on the
food.
altar, so like the bread or the
Okay.
other things, they say it doesn't taste like anything after the spirit comes. So that's their tradition. Jesus told me he always wanted to try to eat the bread because he wanted to see if it still tasted like something. But out of respect for his tradition and for their culture, he never tried to eat the bread. So this is how Jesus celebrated the Day of the Dead in Mexico. But I want to tell you another story about a girl named Haley. And Haley is a student at WSU, and she's from America, but her father is from Mexico. And so every year they celebrate the Day of the Dead as well. And they remember her aunt. Haley's aunt died several years ago. So every year for the Day of the Dead, they get together with all of her family, have all the family come over, and then they cook her aunt's favorite food. And they'll make the food and have a big meal with all of the family together. And when they eat the food, they go and they talk about their favorite memories. And they say the things that they remember doing with her aunt. And so maybe Haley remembers a time when her aunt and her went shopping together and they had a really fun time. Or Haley's father will tell a story about growing up with his sister. So for the Day of the Dead, Haley and her family decorate and they cook food and they get together with family. It's a time when they can remember people that they love. Then I have one more story. Haley's father. Her father grew up in Mexico, and he grew up farther in the south of Mexico, and everyone would celebrate the Day of the Dead. So, every year on November 1st, all the people in the town would get together, and they would go to the cemetery. And they would go and they would clean everything up, and they would bring flowers, and they would bring the favorite food of their relatives and family members who had died, and they would go and they would decorate the cemetery. So these are pictures of all of the flowers that they brought. But it was a celebration when the whole town would come together, and they would get together and they would spend the entire day at the cemetery, and they would tell stories together, and they would eat food, and they would remember and show honor and respect to the people who had died. So these are 3 different ways that people have celebrated this holiday. Did you guys, was anything kind of interesting or very different?
It's totally different.
I didn't know very much about the holiday at all until I started talking to people. I thought it was very strange, the trail of flower petals from the door to the altar that they did that. So, okay, does everyone have notes? Well written? Okay, we are going to do a review, but we're going to do it like a game. So, I'm going to ask you questions. I have questions on the PowerPoint,
Okay.
and we'll divide here. Okay, so you're one team, and you guys are the other team.
Okay.
Alrighty. And team 1. Team 2. Who wants to be team 1? Okay. They're team 1. Alrighty. So, I'm going to ask you a
We
question.
answer as a team, right?
And your team, you guys here are team 2.
Yeah, we answer as a team.
Yes, you have to answer as your team. So not just one person, you have to talk together.
Okay.
So I'll ask you a question, and you talk with your team and come up with an answer. That sounds good. If you answer correctly, then you get to draw points out of my cup. I have, some of them are worth like 25 points, 10 points, 100 points. You can keep drawing for as long as you want. So if you reach in and draw 1 point, then you have to decide if you're going to keep going. And you can draw again and get 100 points. You can, if you keep drawing until you get one of these that says zonk, you lose all your points.
Oh.
So you have to decide how long you want to keep drawing cards for. Okay, so this first question is for team 1. If you get it right, you get to draw. If you get it wrong, then team 2 gets to guess. Okay, so first question. Who did Jesus remember on the Day of the Dead? His grandfather, you're right, okay. So, something. What did you get? Oh, oh no, no points. Alrighty, team 2, you ready? You'll have to get a new drawer next time.
Another question.
Alrighty, team 2, name 3 things that they put on the altar. Do you guys know the answer? Alright, do you guys know?
Yeah.
Okay, come up with what are your 3 things? Food? Yep. Yep.
Sure.
Flowers.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. So,
What was, you had something else?
bread.
Okay, yes, yeah. The bread that they called the bread of the dead. Okay, who's gonna draw? Okay. Are you gonna keep going? Do you want to draw again?
Nope.
Alright.
It was.
Almost. Okay, you guys have 100 points. Oh, that's a broken nose.
Throw that away.
This
Alright.
photo is 0 for.
Alright. Next question, team 1. What was Jesus' favorite part of building the altar? Oh, I didn't say the second thing, which is why he likes to do it. So what was his favorite part?
To leave the path.
Hmm?
Leave the path of God. And they will know to love.
Do you guys know? Alrighty?
You have to make a path from the with flowers from the door to the altar.
Good job, you were listening really carefully. That's correct. The part that I didn't tell you is he said he liked to do it because he could make the house messy and he didn't get in trouble.
100.
100 points! Are you gonna keep going? Not very great. Alrighty. You guys are tied. Alrighty, next question, team 2. Alright, oh that's really small. Alright, because of respect for his family and traditions, what did Jesus not do?
Right.
That's right, he did never try eating the bread the next time. Alrighty.
Oh,
This is for you.
Okay.
I lose.
I have
Well,
one question.
Yeah.
If I have 100 and then I
Because
start putting
100
the other number, it will add or it will.
It will add up.
Okay.
So if you keep drawing, you can get more points. Or you
But-
might lose them.
Greed is curse.
Alrighty. Oh no, I didn't tell you this part either. Sorry. Next question. Alrighty. So, team 1. Where does Haley live?
We have the first. How that is. She lives here and she still lives in
Yes, that's correct. Did you guys know the answer? Where does Haley live?
Yeah.
What?
Did you guys know where Haley lives?
Yeah, she lives in
In Wichita. 20. Are you gonna keep drawing?
Wichita?
Yeah. Okay.
No, his father from
Oh,
15.
15. All right. You have 35 points. Keep going. Yeah. All right.
That's terrible. 35 is good, man.
Alrighty. Team 2. Who does Haley remember on the Day of the Dead? Her aunt. I think I should have made these questions harder. You guys remember everything. Is that alright?
How many Zach is that? Inside the.
How many? There's 5 zonks in here.
Oh, yeah.
There's okay. Let's see. There's like 30 cards
Oh.
and 5 zonks. So, alrighty. How does Haley's family celebrate the Day of the Dead?
What is it?
Do you guys know?
Yeah.
So if they get it wrong, you get to guess.
So big meal.
Get together, have a big meal,
And
and
talk about
his father tell stories, and they
about his aunt and what they did about
remember
children.
their memories.
Yes, good job. That was fantastic. That was a good answer.
Zonke, zonke.
25.
And zonke, we are 0.
No.
Oh,
man.
I lost.
I think I'm gonna take that as zonk. No, there's not quite so many in there.
She has mercy.
I'm being nice here. Okay. So, next team. How did Haley's family celebrate? How did Haley's father celebrate the Day of the Dead in Mexico?
Go to the cemetery,
Oh, you have to decide the team.
decorate, bring flowers, gather and tell stories.
Excellent. Good job. Okay.
Zonke, it's fun.
No.
50. You're right.
50?
We are good.
No,
Zero.
we're not.